This is an NBC News special report. Here's Joe Fryer.
Good morning. We're coming to you with a breaking news update. It's 5 a.m. on the East Coast and 1:30 in the afternoon in Iran. There have been remarkable developments in the Middle East over the past 24 hours as part of Operation Epic Fury, a joint attack on Iran by the United States and Israel. Iranian state media has confirmed the death of Iran's head of state, 86-year-old Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, a man that President Trump has called one of the most evil people in history. Iranian media reports that Khamenei's daughter and grandchild were also killed in the strikes. Take a look at this. This is an image of the Ayatollah's compound that was destroyed in an aerial attack. Also confirmed dead, the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the secretary of the Iranian Defense Council, and the chief of the country's armed forces. President Trump, in a pre-recorded announcement of the attack, endorsed regime change in the country, telling Iranians to rise up and take control of their government. Iranian officials have pledged a massive retaliation with, quote, no red lines against American and Israeli targets in the region. Casualty counts include at least one person in Israel, one person in Dubai, and 4 people in Syria reportedly killed in Iranian attacks. In Iran, the Iranian Red Crescent says more than 200 people have been killed and around 700 injured. U.S. Central Command reports that there have been no U.S. casualties, that no U.S. Navy ships have been struck by Iranian missiles or live fire, and that damage to U.S. installations in the region is minimal and has not impacted operations. Iran has been able to launch retaliatory strikes with some success, including a recent barrage against U.S. bases and Israeli military headquarters. But right now, it's not clear how much more firepower Iran has in its arsenal. Also unclear who's even directing Iran's military and security forces right now as we wait for new leadership to emerge. Here in the U.S., there were celebrations by Iranian Americans in Los Angeles who are hopeful that regime change can mean a new and brighter future for Iranians. And overnight, there were new explosions in Tehran, the Israeli military launching a new barrage of strikes on Iran. As we mentioned, President Trump sent out a truth post overnight. He is starting his day at Mar-a-Lago, is expected to return to Washington tonight. NBC's Julie Sirkin joins us now from West Palm Beach with the latest. Julie, what are we hearing from the president and the Trump administration as we are now more than 24 hours into this operation?
Joe, the president overnight is warning, as you mentioned, Iran against that even bigger retaliation that government has promised. He posted on Truth Social saying they better not do that. However, because if they do, we will hit them with a force that has never been seen before. Of course, this is a president who is now waking up on day 2 since those strikes that were launched on Friday. Overnight, he posted that nearly 9-minute-long message, and then we really haven't seen or heard from the president since. We know he stopped by a political event last night, but speaking of politics, of course, this is what this issue is going to turn into. Initially, as we've been reporting, the president, his administration are prepared for a more sustained effort in the region. Of course, we still have our military assets, our buildup around Iran. The president here promising to strike again, of course, if Iran does anything. But he also put the onus on the Iranian people, the protesters there, saying this is their moment, this is their chance. He said in his comments yesterday that no president in American history has given the Iranian people this kind of opportunity to pursue regime change. Of course, something that is extremely dangerous for the Iranian people. Thousands of them have been killed in an uprising several weeks ago in Iran. There were economic reasons for why the Ayatollah, the Iranian regime, was weakened at that point. Israeli strikes that happened last year, American strikes that targeted nuclear uranium enrichment sites last summer. This is why the president said this is the moment that was ripe for the U.S., the Israelis, to strike. You'll remember that, of course, there were peace negotiations even up until Friday. That's what even the Omanis were pointing to, for example, as why they were surprised that the U.S. decided to take this step. But ultimately, the president agreeing to these strikes and also agreeing to a prolonged, sustained campaign that some in his party already have been speaking out against, even especially Joe in the MAGA base, as is a president who campaigned on no new wars, now going to have to defend this move, historic move that we've seen in Iran. Joe.
Julie Sirkin reporting from Florida. Julie, thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC international correspondent Matt Bradley, who is live in Tel Aviv. Matt, tell us what the situation is like there right now in Israel and some of what we are hearing from the Israeli government now more than 24 hours into this operation.
Yeah, well, I was just coming into work today. It's a Sunday. This is the beginning of the work week for Israelis, and the streets are largely deserted. There were some pretty serious bombardments that did strike Tel Aviv last night. But I got to tell you, Joe, it was very underwhelming when compared to last June's attacks. We have seen now one death related to these strikes, one death that was directly caused by the strikes. There were other deaths reportedly around them that weren't necessarily directly caused by them. We've seen more than 100 injuries, and many people, at least 2 people, have been moderately wounded. So really, we're talking about a pretty underwhelming casualty count compared to what we saw last year, where there were 30 deaths and many, many more injuries. It is unclear to Israelis and to the world just how much firepower the Iranians have left and how much longer this is going to last. Shortly after dawn this morning, about 24 hours into this operation, we were woken up by a succession of various different, basically one after another, air raid sirens. So it looks as though the Iranians are still trying to retaliate against the Israelis. Whether or not that continues, it's unclear. We haven't heard much from the Israeli government yet this morning. We did hear from the military spokesperson, but we haven't heard much in the way of new news. The Israelis did say that they had managed to kill 40 Iranian leaders in those attacks overnight, in those attacks yesterday.
Matt Bradley reporting from Tel Aviv. Matt, thank you so much. Let's bring in NBC's Raf Sanchez, who's live in London for us. I mean, Raf, relations are moving forward between the U.S. and Iran. This is certainly going to be challenging those relations as Iran figures out who's going to lead them moving forward. We heard the president say about 24 hours ago, this is an opportunity for people in Iran to step up and take over their government. But observers will tell you it is not going to be that simple. That's easier said than done. So what do we know about who's leading the country and who might be leading the country moving forward?
Yeah, Joe, so Ayatollah Khamenei had been the supreme leader of Iran since 1989 until yesterday. So there is barely anyone in the U.S. government who has any experience of dealing with an Iran that is not under his leadership. This is really uncharted territory. What we are hearing from the Iranian regime is that a temporary leadership council is being set up to provide governance following Khamenei's killing. That announcement was made by a man called Ali Larijani. He is the former speaker of the Iranian parliament. He's now a very senior security official, and he does appear to be the person who is most in charge at this stage following the death of the supreme leader. It appears that he will play a key role in that leadership council. He is a hardliner, but he has a lot of experience dealing with the United States through nuclear negotiations. We're hearing from him today. He's saying that yesterday Iran fired missiles at the United States and Israel, and they did hurt. Today, we will hit them with a force that they have never experienced before. Now, Joe, it does appear that Iran's democratically elected president is still alive, but that is a position without much power, especially when it comes to national security, especially when it comes to foreign affairs. So on top of figuring out who is going to lead the nation, the Iranian regime is now racing to fill all of these individual military leadership posts. As Matt was saying, Israel claims to have killed some 40 senior Iranian leaders, many of them senior military commanders, the head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, among others. So that is a big, big void at the top of the Iranian regime that needs to be filled. In terms of the eventual process to pick a new supreme leader, there have only been 2 supreme leaders in the history of the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khomeini, the sort of founding father of the Iranian regime, and then Khamenei, who was killed yesterday. That position is usually filled by a Shia Muslim cleric, and it needs to be approved by a body called the Assembly of Experts. Whether or not that body will meet during wartime, we will see. Joe.
Raf Sanchez reporting from London. Raf, thank you so much. I'm Joe Fryer. We're going to have much more ahead on Sunday today and on our streaming network, NBC News Now, also online at NBCnews.com. More news straight ahead.